That pot sat there all winter, bone dry, root tangled, dead looking. My grandmother would have had it replanted by April. Never bought new soil. She had 4 ways of bringing old mix back to life, each stronger than the last, from planting straight into it to a full rebuild most gardeners have never seen. Every method starts the same way, learning to read what that tired soil has left to give. Number 1, before you ever mix in a handful of compost or think about planting, you have to know what kind of soil you're working with. My grandfather would pinch a bit between his fingers, roll it, and say, "The soil will tell you if it's tired or just sleeping." Texture comes first. If it crumbles easy and smells like earth after a rain, you're off to a good start. But when it's packed tight as a brick or has a sour, rotten whiff, that's a warning. Sometimes you'll find old roots knotted through or see gnats and mites crawling about. Those are signs the soil's been through a hard season, maybe carrying old disease or pests that could ruin your next crop. We always screen our old mix through a bit of hardware cloth, shaking out the big clumps, roots, and stones. That simple act lets you see what you've really got, what's living, what's dead, and what needs help. Around here, we trust our hands and noses more than any bag from the store. Store-bought never lasts, but this does if you know how to read it. In second place, there comes a line you do not cross, no matter how much you hate to waste. If a pot of soil has ever seen damping off, root rot, or that sickly white fuzz that climbs up the stems and wipes out a tray of seedlings, you have to let it go. My grandmother lost a whole tomato season once to a soil-borne blight. She tried to save a few dollars, but the disease came back stronger and nothing grew right for years. The names they use now, Pythium, Rhizoctonia, Fusarium, mean little to most folks, but I know them as the silent thieves that stay buried in the soil, waiting for a chance. Fusarium wilt can linger for decades. It hides in old roots, tools, even the water that runs off your bench. Around here, if we have any doubt, we bag that soil up and set it out in the sun for a summer, letting the heat do its work. But we never plant straight into it again. Frugality ends where sickness begins. That's the rule. If you want your harvest to stand a chance, you have to know when to say enough is enough. Third on our list, there's a method so plain and honest, it almost feels like cheating the modern world. If the soil in your pot passes the old tests, crumbles in your hand, smells like a forest after rain, no sign of sickness or crawling pests, then you just plant right back into it. No fancy amendments, no store-bought fixes, just trust in what you already have. My grandfather kept the same big clay pot on the porch for years, never thinking once to throw out the soil so long as it stayed clean. He would pull the roots, shake out the clumps, and plant again. Folks talk about 7 seasons from one pot, and while I can't swear to that exact number, I've seen a good mix last near as long if you mind it well. These days, I hear people online say, I reuse my old potting soil every season. It works the same and saves money. That's the truth of it. You save your dollars, you save your labor, and you give the lie to the idea that everything must be used up and tossed out. My grandfather's soil outlasted him. It will outlast me too if I keep feeding it the way he taught. Number 4 on our list, there's an old family rule that's never left my mind, half old, half new. When the soil in your pot has seen a few too many seasons, maybe it's grown a little heavy or the plants just don't look as lively as they once did, we don't throw it all away. Instead, we mix what's left with an equal part of fresh, high-quality potting mix. That's what the Maryland folks recommend too. And it matches what I learned from my father's father. He'd say, you stretch your dollars and your soil both, but you don't gamble the whole harvest on tired ground. The beauty of this method is its balance. You get the thrift of reusing what you have, but the caution of a clean start. It costs more than just planting right back in, and it takes a little more work, but you can feel the difference when you run your hands through the blended mix, lighter, richer, ready for another year. Around here, we don't waste what still has life in it, but we also don't risk a season's crop on stubbornness. Half old, half new. That's the compromise that's never failed us yet. Number 5, there's a way we came to when the soil felt truly worn down and you could see the plants asking for more than a handful of fertilizer could give. That's when we'd shift to what my uncle called the compost engine, 30% old soil, the rest filled with fresh, living compost. Around here, compost isn't just scraps and peelings. It's the heart of the garden, built from years of kitchen waste, barn sweepings, and the sweepings from the chicken coop. We'd screen the old soil as always, but instead of mixing it half and half with something out of a bag, we'd let the compost do most of the work. The old soil brings the memory of seasons past, but it's the compost that feeds the next crop. That's how we learned to feed the soil, not just the plant. The Oklahoma Extension folks say you can fill out tired containers with compost late in the season, and I found that to be true, though nobody I know ever measured out the exact 30 to 70. We just watched for a soil that felt loose, rich, and smelled like the woods after a rain. One warning: never mix wood chips or sawdust into the pot. If you want to mulch, lay it on top, never buried, or you'll starve the roots for nitrogen. That's a lesson we learned the hard way. Store-bought mixes come and go, but a pot rebuilt with real compost will keep giving, year after year. My grandfather's soil outlasted him. It will outlast me too, if I keep feeding it the way he taught. Number 6, there's a method we only turned to when the soil seemed past all ordinary mending, when a pot had been through so many seasons that even compost alone couldn't bring it back to life. That's when we'd start what my father called the full restoration. It begins with what the old-timers called feeding the bones of the soil. We'd mix in azomite, a fine gray rock dust dug from ancient volcanic beds, said to hold more than 70 trace minerals. My grandfather believed that, over years, soil forgets its wild beginnings, losing the little things plants crave, the iron, copper, and molybdenum that no fertilizer bag ever mentions. A handful of azomite, worked deep into the reclaimed mix, sets that right, slowly returning what time and crops have taken away. But minerals alone won't wake up the soil. For that, you need life. We dust in a pinch of mycorrhizal powder, a living fungus that we learned about from a neighbor who'd spent a season working with nursery trees. Folks used to think these fungi would take hold in a day or two, but I've found it takes the better part of 10 days before they truly settle in and start their silent work, weaving through the roots, sharing water and food with the plant like an old friend at the supper table. Patience is the rule. Rush it and you'll miss the real magic. Sometimes, especially after a hard year, we'd brew up a barrel of compost tea. That's just a rich mix of finished compost, rainwater, and a little molasses, bubbled for 17 hours or more until it smells sweet and alive. Pouring that over the resting soil gives it a jolt of new microbes, the kind that break down stubborn bits and keep the earth loose and dark. But even then, we never plant straight away. The soil needs time to breathe and balance itself. 2 or 3 weeks in a cool, shaded corner, no roots, no rush, lets the minerals dissolve, the fungi stretch out, and the microbes multiply. Only then do we call it ready for seed or transplant. This is the slowest, most careful way I know to bring a potting mix back from the edge. It costs a little more, asks for more patience, but the reward is a soil that gets stronger each year, not weaker. Around here, we treat soil like a living inheritance, not a bag to be tossed out at season's end. My grandfather's soil outlasted him. It will outlast me too, if I keep feeding it the way he taught. All these years, I've seen one thing hold true. Soil's only as dead as you let it be. We learn to feed what we have, not throw it away. Store-bought never lasts, but this does. My grandfather's soil outlasted him. It will outlast me too if I keep feeding it the way he taught.